in one of the WhatsApp groups I am in, there was a TikTok picture of Pastor Kanyari, where he was livid, and he was he was even holding a glass of water. The hands were shaking, and the water was pouring on himself. He was talking to a camera, and he was addressing a certain pastor. The certain pastor he even played the audio of that pastor castigating him, and then there is a certain pastor who was castigating him, and he was talking to him, saying that you don't have the keys to heaven, I will lock you out of heaven. That brings the topic of Pastor Kanyari, Victor Kanyari. And he was even saying that when his sister died, that pastor never passed condolences. I've been in charge of a few funerals. I was in charge of both my parents' funeral. I was in charge of my father's funeral. I was in charge of my mother's funeral. And I was in charge of 2 funerals of my 2 stepmothers. I don't know why Pastor Kanyari was livid that pastor did not pass word of condolence when Pastor Kanyari's sister died. I don't know. Because I remember these funerals that I've attended, and I would also want my funeral to be that way. Don't invite anybody, and don't bar anybody. Maybe the only person you can give condition is somebody you have reasonable belief. If you have reasonable belief that so and so will not talk the truth. You see, some people, especially lawyers, they'll use a funeral as an opportunity to praise, worship you. They'd even pretend they'll never. So, if you look at somebody who is genuinely the worst enemy of the dead, comes and says, I want to ask the deceased to go in peace, and he or she forgives me, and I forgive her. If you genuinely believe that person is talking from the heart, allow him to say. But if it is somebody with irreconcilable, there are times when somebody is dead, and you ask yourself, suppose there was a way I could talk to the dead person, would he approve James to speak? If you genuinely believe that James would not approve him to talk, then please don't allow him. But in most cases, especially the worst enemy, if the worst enemy genuinely and even uses that opportunity to ask for forgiveness, the funeral should forgive him for the sake of the dead, and the dead would have to go in peace. That is the only thing I can support, controlling what somebody speaks. Otherwise, I would want everybody to come and say, and don't tell people, oh, you talk about this. No. Okay. If it is somebody who had a lot of things with him, they used to work together, they used to stay together, you say, okay, your colleagues have talked about your workplace. Now, can you concentrate on issues to do with where you used to stay or where you used to take nyamachom? I think that, but I hope you understand. But most important, I'd be the last person. Actually, I would be the last person to tell somebody that I didn't see you at my father's funeral. I'd be the last person. Because it is better that you refuse to come and stay there, other than to present your body here but your soul is elsewhere. And vice versa. Whoever comes, let him come. Whoever doesn't come, there is no day I can ever tell you, Nani's best friend, and I didn't see you at the funeral. So Kanyari telling the other pastor, it seems they know each other and they are friends, because he says that when my sister died, you didn't pass condolence to me. Let whoever passes condolence, let him pass condolences willingly and using his own words or his or her own words. Don't say, hey, in Central Province, there's a young man who died, and as the pastor or padre was conducting funeral, some young men came and chased the pastor and the padre there. They wailed at the grave. They threw some bang into the grave. They poured the changa into the grave and said, hey, comrade, we release you to go. I support that, because when he was alive, he was not a church goer. He was a bang smoker and he was a changa drinker. So I would that is my view. Now for Pastor Kanyari to castigate this pastor because he didn't condole with him, that is unfortunate, especially coming from the pastor. I happen to know Pastor Kanyari, but I don't think he knows me. He used to have a church. He used to have a church along Kinyanji Road in the Riruta Satellite. When you leave the school, there's like a stream there just before you reach Nyakenya Road or Mid Hill Hospital. He used to have a church there. Then there was a flood, and the church went, and that is how he moved out. Pastor Kanyari has. You don't judge somebody by his relatives, but him and his mother, who is also a so-called pastor, have conned a lot of Kenyans for a long time. And let his sister rest in peace. But the way she died, you see, Pastor Kanyari cannot carry the sins of his sister. The mother, whom I've forgotten the name, conned people in that she used to. There was a certain lab, where she could take people with HIV/AIDS to go there and undertake a HIV. People who suspect themselves. And the agreement between her and the lab was everybody who has been brought here will undertake 2 tests. The first test will be positive, the second one will be negative. So she would tell people who suspect themselves to be, or who know that they are HIV positive, she would make arrangements with them to come and undertake tests with her. After undertaking tests with her, with that lab, all of them, including the few people, there are some people, some sickness are psychological. You start coughing, you start sweating, that is what they say, that if you have the following symptoms, it does not mean that you have HIV/AIDS, but when you have these symptoms, go and get tested to confirm. But then instead of you going to go to be tested, I think there used to be 5, so you get around 3. Instead of going to be tested, you go to her. She takes you to that place. No tests. They pretend to conduct tests. When they pretend to conduct tests, all of you are confirmed to be HIV. Then you go to Mama Kanyari's place. She prays for you. And then refers you back to the same to get a second one, which automatically will be negative. Okay, assuming there are several scenarios. There is one person who has just been sweating and had been having those, but in reality, he or she does not have HIV/AIDS. Goes to the first time, It is said that he or she has AIDS, goes back to the pastor, comes back, and then the next time ushuhuda, nilikuwa na ukimwi, mama kaniombea. But even in the first place, that individual did not have HIV and has not had HIV. We have a second scenario where somebody has HIV, but maybe he or she may have undertaken the test or may not have undertaken tests. All the same, the results are the same, and so on. Among a good number, over 80% of those who used to go for her prayers are people who had already been tested and found to be on HIV. And you'll see cases like we have had calamities like corona and whatever, and floodings. You find somebody who has HIV and stays in the slums, and there is flood, the drugs are taken, and the person maybe has to restart medication afresh. This HIV medication is supposed to be taken for life strictly, just like you wash your face daily and brush your teeth daily. If you don't brush your teeth, if you don't wash your face and you meet people, you think they know. You start looking aside thinking, these people know that I didn't wash my face. These people, you don't even talk to somebody directly, you think they'll discover you did wash. So that is how those people are. You get the medication daily, just like you can never forget to wash your face. But then it reaches a stage when you have HIV and she tells you that she has treated you. What do? You even take take those drugs to her. She throws them away. But then later, a lot of people have died that way. As I finish off, Kanyari came out with this thing about 310. Well, Pastor Kanyari, asante. I've used your system to some extent, because I just tell my viewers, just deposit 50 shillings in my pay bill. Now, if 100 people in a day deposit 50, you see that is a lot of money. So Kanyari comes up and says that there is a place he read in the Bible about 310. So he tells people, I don't want a lot of money, I just want 310. Suppose 1,000 people pay him 1,000 people pay him 310. That is a third of a million. I wanted to say this. Around 2011, I used to visit the Registrar of Society, Mr. Onyango. Then there was this problem about religion. I would really want, you see, if you look at the lawyers, they have Law Society of Kenya, and it is very effective. Why can't we have Religious Society of Kenya? These are the people who can go around various universities and colleges and approve the syllabus. And once you have a certificate, once you have a diploma or even a degree in theology, you cannot conduct theology in a church unless you have a permit, just like a lawyer. You cannot practice as being a lawyer without accreditation from Law Society of Kenya. If you attend this Kina Kanyari thing, and mostly they are done by Luhya pastors, Mutumishi, Riswa. I have never done theology, but I think theology is a way you have to understand things. If you notice something, for example, you notice a lady, and that mostly they are ladies undertaking juju to her husband or anything. You can tell her on Sunday with her husband, why can't you come to the office on Wednesday with your husband, have something? Then you handle that thing. And again, you see the husband, after knowing what has happened, husband may overreact, and maybe that would be the end of the marriage. But these people don't care. You see, your wife just tells you, hey, twende kwa ile kanisa naendaga. You go there, then suddenly, the mtumishi calls, or mchungaji calls your wife to the altar and start disclosing, and disclosing before people, because religious people are like doctors and whatever. You cannot be a gynecologist and then you reveal the secrets of somebody. Just stay. So it is just you find that a pastor knows something about the lady, talks it in public before the husband, before all churchgoers, and the people cheer, and they cheer more than what Martin Shukuku could be cheered. So they cheer repeatedly, they do whatever. To him, people attend that church in droves so as to contribute a lot in the tithes or something. But a good church person who has undertaken even a certificate in theology, this good person is supposed to mind the repercussion. He is not supposed to create a problem. He is supposed to kill a problem. Thank you.